ADJD is headed to USC, but not the one in California, the one in South Carolina. I'll explain next here on Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day.
You are Locked On Horned Frogs, your daily podcast on the TCU Horned Frogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
That's right, Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. I'm your host, Steven Simcox. Some big news came down. TCU will be looking for a new athletic director as Jeremiah Donati is moving on to take the same job at the University of South Carolina. I got done recording my signing day podcast. If you want to check that out, yesterday did a pretty lengthy breakdown of TCU's recruiting class for 2025, the players that signed letters of intent and are headed to campus, a lot of them in January, 20 of them of the 29, according to Sonny Dykes. But I got done with that. I sat down at my desk. I opened up Twitter, and I saw that Ross Dellinger had tweeted out something about Jeremiah Donati being connected to South Carolina. And I thought, surely that's not true. Not because I wouldn't believe that news, just because there wasn't any rumblings about it. And then all of a sudden it sounded like it was a done deal. And that's really how it went down. Not sure what all the back channel negotiations have been like over the past few days or weeks or whatever the case has been. But it appears that it's all set up and ready to go. Jeremiah Donati will be moving on to South Carolina. It makes sense in the simple fact that in this new world of college athletics and in college football specifically, an SEC job is going to be very coveted now. South Carolina's got a chance to be in the college football playoff this year. Shane Beamer's done a really nice job there. But it's not so much that even as it is just the fact that if musical chairs happens again, South Carolina has the inherent advantage of being a legacy member of the conference that holds what it appears to be the most power in this situation as the world turns and conferences continue to move around and change and shift under our feet. But it's a loss. I mean, overall, and please let me know your thoughts. You can let me know in the YouTube comments. You can also tweet at me at SimcoxSteven. I thought Jeremiah Donati did a good job at TCU. I don't feel like he did anything that will reverberate through the program or the athletic department for years. Like it just kind of felt kind of stagnant, or it's felt kind of stagnant around the athletic department for a little while now. I believe things that he was really strong at, he made some good hires. Mark Campbell's women's basketball, it's paying off in a big way early this season. We'll talk in segment 2 about their win against Florida Atlantic tonight and an upcoming game on Sunday, which is apparently going to be the Jeremiah Donati Bowl Sunday afternoon between South Carolina and TCU. But that seems like a home run hire. Coach Williams with volleyball, same type of thing. He's gotten them back in the NCAA tournament. They're playing at a high level. Sonny Dykes with football kind of remains to be seen. Jury's still out. But the first year was obviously incredible. Last 2 years have been more rocky. I will say it took a lot of courage. Maybe that's the wrong word. I know some people still might have issues with how it all went down. And in a perfect world, I think Gary Patterson, I would have loved for him to finish the year out and wave to the fans on senior day and have a moment where we truly appreciated what he built and what he had done. But the bottom line was everyone realized a move needed to be made. And even though everyone realized that, it's still really difficult, especially for someone like Donati, who hadn't been in that job and in that seat for very long at that point. Took over in 2017 after Chris Conte took the job at Texas. And he made the necessary move to let GP go. And he found the guy that he wanted. And we can argue and wring our hands about whether it was the right or wrong hire. I think there's some things I really like about Sonny. There's some things that I'm frustrated with. But he made a necessary change that it took some guts to do that. So on that front, I thought he did a pretty solid job. The Kirk Saarloos hire, returns have been pretty good so far. I wish they would have opened it up to a more national search because I feel like that's a job that's very coveted around baseball. But I understood that the current team, when Jim Schlossnagle left, was very much behind Kirk Saarloos. And for the most part, they've played at a high level since he's taken the job. Did some good fundraising, which that was his background when he got promoted. He was known as a fundraiser. Just broke ground on a new human performance center for the football team. So all that's positive. I think he said all the right things when it came to conference realignment and NIL and the future of compensating players in-house. And what I mean by that is if things shake out like we expect with these various lawsuits in the next few months, NIL will shift from collectives and outside forces to within the university. You got a payroll. There's some more set rules and regulations. I remember he did an interview with Jamie Plunkett, I believe, a few months ago, where he was pretty honest in saying, like, I think that would be beneficial for TCU because it would give a more even playing field to the, conferences into the world if we had some better regulation with how this worked. So he said all the right things in those regards. It seemed like he understood the way that college sports was moving and changing and what it was going to take to keep up. Now, how much did he actually execute those things? I can't totally speak to that. I know the Flying Sea Club is doing the best they can to keep up with the Joneses and make sure that our guys are compensated really well. I saw a tweet today, and, well, I started the sentence, so I guess I'll throw it out there. I saw something from an Oklahoma State fan today. Oklahoma State radio reporter apparently said that to get Adam Schobel on campus, who signed yesterday, we threw $250,000 out there to make sure that he changed his commitment from Oklahoma State to TCU. So that's the type of funds that they're working with and that they've been willing to extend out to these players to make sure that they're signing the dotted line and getting on campus. So those things are positive. I mean, from a negative standpoint, men's basketball has reached new heights, but it does feel like they've sort of reached their ceiling in some ways. And there's other, like men's tennis won a national title last year. When soccer has been very consistent and very good. So all those things are great. And whoever takes the job next, I think has a good foundation to build off of, which coaches talk all the time about, hey, I want to leave things better than I found it. I don't know if Donati can say that because I truly think Chris Del Conte is elite at what he does. I think he's in the upper echelon of athletic directors in the country. And he's just great with people. And it was a different job when he had it here because you didn't have the NIL aspect of things going on. But it just felt like he had his finger on the pulse of where college athletics was and how to maximize TCU's chances at being one of the premier institutions of the country. I wouldn't say Donati totally capitalized on the momentum that he left him with, but I also don't believe the ship is sinking, right? Like I think whoever steps in here is going to have a good foundation to build off of. I always try to be honest with you guys and just very upfront. I am not super plugged into the world of who are the big time up and coming athletic directors around the country. There's a few names that I've seen thrown out there, and these are not reports. This is just, hey, these people have connections to TCU. It would make sense if the Frogs at least picked up the phone and kind of gauged their interest in the job. Drew Martin at Texas. executive senior associate athletic director. He was at TCU with Chris Del Conte, ended up moving with him to Austin. And Drew was on the marketing side of things when he was at TCU. Made a great impression across the athletic departments, from what I could tell. Did a really solid job, has continued to rise through the ranks after he moved on to UT. Javon Overshone at Baylor, who's basically, as far as I can tell, second in command to Mac Rhodes there. She is a TCU graduate now. She's worked for Baylor now for a long time. So I don't know. But she went to TCU. Seems like she's done a great job at her current stop. So that's a name I would throw out there as well. And then John Cunningham at Cincinnati, TCU grad as well. He's the AD there at Cincinnati. And he spent some time in the compliance department, about 5 years in TCU compliance, working there as well. So knows this place and knows just how TCU works, or at least did in the past. And I honestly think this is going to be a really attractive job. Here's my hope. This is kind of my big takeaway. I think this is a great chance to go get somebody who can get the wheels turning, especially when it comes to NIL, and get TCU in a great place when we're talking about conference realignment and that type of thing. If you're going to do that, please get a search committee and really have a thorough search. I don't know what it is. I get it. TCU kind of has a unique culture. It's still, even though it's grown a lot, even since I've been there, and I know people that were there in the 80s and 90s, even more so, it's still a relatively small school compared to its peers. And I get there's unique challenges that come with that. But my goodness, we don't have to just promote somebody from within. Now, listen, if there's somebody within the athletic department who deserves this opportunity, give them an interview for sure, see what they have to say. But really open this up and let's see who's interested and find the best person for this job. Because this is pivotal, man. I mean, the landscape of college sports is changing on a daily basis. And Captain Obvious here, you need somebody who is very in tune with what is going on in this world and with what's going to happen in the next few years. The Big 12, it's still not in a great situation. But the 180 that has happened between Bob Bowlesby and Brett Yormark is really positive. And so much of it is just that Yormark's a dynamic guy that seems to understand what's happening and what modern college sports looks like. Go find somebody like that. And, it doesn't, I don't feel like you have to rush this hire. You got some time here. When we come back, a few final notes from signing day, and then we'll talk about some hoops. That's coming up next here on Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. First, though, let's talk about our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel.com or the FanDuel app. Make one $5 bet. You win that bet, you get up to $150 in bonus bets. NBA, NFL, college hoops, college football, it's all available to you. FanDuel.com or download the easy-to-use FanDuel app today. If you've ever been curious about the sports betting world, give it a try with FanDuel. Okay, so TCU signed 29 players on Wednesday. And Sonny Dykes spoke. He had a press conference that morning, said 20 of those guys are going to enroll early. If you're just kind of curious about Cliff Notes, who are the big names from this class? Terry Shelton, 4-star wide receiver from Ranch View High School. And Terry is your prototypical outside wide receiver, big physical, 6'4", 200 pounds, had a big senior season. And he signed this afternoon. He'll enroll early. And I think he's one of the players that has a chance to make an impact quickly and get some playing time. Now, there'll be sort of a log jam there. Braylon James is a young guy they like. Obviously, Eric McAllister is coming back and had some really good production this season. Kyle Baker has a year under his belt. But Shelton's someone they found late in the process. Not found. I'm sure they were interested in for a long time, but they flipped him. Originally, he was an Arizona commit. Got him on board. And they're going to get him to campus early and see how quickly he can get acclimated to this system. Chad Woodfork from Summer Creek High School in Humble, Texas, 6'4", 220, edge player, stud linebacker, stand-up defensive end type that can rush the passer, big tackle for lost guy. Sonny said today a lot of schools were after him, and he thankfully stayed loyal to TCU, stuck with his commitment, and is excited to play in the San Diablos defense. We saw some guys like Cooper McDonald and Devin Deal take advantage of those one-on-one matchups and pass rushing situations. Woodfork, one of those guys. There's been a big emphasis within this class on getting pass rushers, getting more of that prototype stand-up outside linebacker, edge rusher, and he is one of those guys that fits that mold for sure. Adam Schobel, the quarterback from Columbus High School, 4-star talent, was committed to Baylor, Oklahoma State, and eventually TCU. His dad, Matt, played for the Frogs, obviously. Uncle Aaron also played for the Frogs. His cousin John will also be here, plays at Columbus High School as well, defensive end, one of those pass rushers that I was talking about. So excited for that legacy to continue as they get on campus. Micah Strickland, 4-star corner out of Brownsboro, Texas, 6 feet tall, 175 pounds. He was a big target for this coaching staff. Ed Small, 3-star wide receiver from Anderson High School in Austin, and was just a dude that put up huge numbers really over his whole career, but especially this past year in his senior year. He was a Texas baseball commit for a while, but TCU able to get him on board with the football program, and a lot of chatter about him being a guy that should step in immediately at that slot position and be ready to go. Killian Registry and Logan Schramm, offensive tackles. Logan from Bernie, Killian from Keller. I traded a couple of emails with their high school coaches, and Killian's high school coach at Keller said that he's really smart. He's going to graduate top 10% of his class, has a great frame at 6'7", 300 pounds, and just moves so well for someone at that size. Is just an incredible athlete. Also plays goalkeeper on the soccer team. So a lot of exciting names from this 2025 class, and a number of players that are going to get on campus early and do their best to get on the field and get playing time in a TCU uniform. Switching gears a little bit, TCU women, they're 9-0. They're also now ranked number 9 in the country, top 10 team. They took down Florida Atlantic 78-42 on Wednesday night. Sedona Prince, 14 points, 6 boards. Haley Van Lith had 16 points on 7 of 14 shooting. Also had a couple assists. Taylor Bigby had a nice night, 9 points, 6 assists. Emptied out the bench a little bit more than usual. Had that big lead. Pretty business-like effort. They're just playing at such a high level right now. And they'll get South Carolina Sunday at Dickies Arena. And it's another opportunity, another chance to go show what they can do against one of the premier programs and one of the best teams in the country. I took down NC State, which was really the introduction to, man, this is a team that can get after it, that can play at a high level. That was a top 25 opponent. And then Notre Dame was a message to the country of, hey, maybe this is more than just a talented group that can pull off the occasional upset. Now you're playing the defending national champs. It'll be fun to watch them duke it out with Don Staley's squad. And it seems like they've had a great game plan over these last 2 games, these last 2 big games at NC State and Notre Dame respectively. So interested to see what kind of scheme they throw out there and how they try to attack this South Carolina team. That's Sunday afternoon at Dickies Arena. The men play tomorrow night against Xavier in the Big 12 Big East Challenge. And They need to get up off the mat. Xavier's a top 25 team. TCU basketball is struggling right now. Chance to get a big win, though, and maybe right the ship to a certain extent if they can get that victory. That game tips off at 7 tomorrow. When we come back, some of your thoughts from yesterday's show. It's Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. So speaking of that 2025 class, Matt Clark says taking 30 traditional recruits doesn't leave much room for the portal. Maybe Sonny has learned some lessons about the portal and he's not trying to be as reliant on it. Yes, I don't think they're going to be as portal heavy as they have been in the past. Now, I will say I expect to see some more guys leave here in the next few days, which could open up some more room. He said a few weeks ago that they were, I guess it was during that bye week, they were interested in a wide receiver. So we know that. They're going to try to go get somebody with some proven production at that outside wideout spot because they have Savion Williams and Jack Besh both leaving, which leaves a huge void there. I want them to go get a tackle. I think they're going to have to make a move or two at safety with the players that have left so far. But other than that, I mean, I don't see a ton of glaring holes. You know, running back is kind of debatable. I think you could run it back with the guys you got and just sort of see what happens. But there's not a ton of proven production there either. For the most part, though, I don't think this team is as in of dire need as the last couple of years of like immediate impact players. And that should help them on the field, but also just from a planning perspective, that should help them this year as they maybe don't have to go get, 20 players in the portal. Zoom Play says, bless our recruits. They will do their best and contribute. Go Frogs. I think this is a good class. I feel like they're going to get on the field quickly, and there's some guys who can make an immediate impact for sure. Frog Fan says, I hope Josh Hoover could have a great year next year and get drafted because the QB room is starting to get crowded, and if Josh comes back for his senior year, a healthy Haney can transfer out, and I would hate to see that. I think Haney is the perfect QB for Browns' offense. I mean, that's the tough thing about college football now. You're always trying to keep guys engaged and saying, hey, you got to wait your turn. I agree with you that quarterback room is kind of getting crowded, but it's a good problem to have. You got to keep acquiring talent. And I think taking 30 players in this class shows that they sort of know, I mean, with the new roster limits, go get the most talent you can and then just see who comes out in the wash. Try to develop everybody to your best of your ability and see who rises to the top and makes things happen. I think that's going to be the new plan moving forward. Vince Breyer says he doesn't trust Sonny at all. I know, Vince. I know, buddy. And I hope that he can turn it around for everyone's sake this next year. But I really did like how they closed the season. And as I said a lot, I mean, I know the schedule has a lot to do with that. I'm not naive to the fact that they lucked out in that regard. But they also beat some teams handily that I don't think they would have beat up on earlier in the year the way they're playing. So I do believe that means something, even if there's still a lot of things to work on and get better at this offseason. And we'll see how they attack that in the next few months. We'll also hopefully get a better read on who the next athletic director will be and what direction TCU will move. A lot of changes at TCU. Chancellor Boschini also announced that he'll be stepping down soon. So a lot of moving parts at Texas Christian University. We'll try to cover all of it to the best of our ability here on Locked On Horned Frogs. It's your team every day. Don't forget we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts.